Alright, we should be broadcasting now to the entire internet. Let's see. I am on live chat, so hopefully I'll catch any and all messages coming in. If there's a single one coming in, let me check if the audio is working. Alright, according to my own preview, I am audible, so I can officially take off the headphones and begin rambling and presumably drawing. In the meantime, I've cleaned this up a little bit. A little bit is probably an exaggeration, an understatement, not an exaggeration. That's the exact opposite. So yeah, simple shading. I've did like this meh kind of shading, but it was for fun. So what's the plan? I don't bloody know. The short version of the plan is I want to check if I even have the anatomy right in this, because I fear that it makes no sense. And you know, I'll figure out as I go along, as I usually do. Because if you have not noticed, or if you are new here, that's kind of the way I do it, which is 3 question marks, which frankly seems to be turning into a kind of life motto for myself. Oh. Yeah. Well. Life's been throwing a bunch of stuff at me lately, so I'm just, you know, I don't know. I've been repeating I don't know over and over to myself. It's essentially how I feel about it. I don't know. I just don't know. I just genuinely do not have an idea, do not know. Yeah, so, okay. So, what I'm going to do, I'm going to just ramble on about whatever the hell comes to mind as I draw this, or maybe I'll shut up at some point and just draw. I don't know yet, really, to be honest. That's not yet been decided. So, the question is, because I'm currently drawing this on, not on the form, but on the kind of clothing, and I'd rather focus on the form, so we're gonna make this even more transparent, decrease the opacity a whole bunch, and I'm gonna get back to doing that. And sorry if you'd like the lighter shade, but I'd like to make this easier on my own eyes, so I'm gonna switch to a darker kind of color. And we're probably not gonna be drawing using the yeah. Okay, so I imagine this is kind of the form of this guy. It's kind of like this. This leg I don't think there's much objection to it from my own brain, of course, because that's what I have to to judge these. It's like, hey brain, how do you feel about this thing we've drawn? It's like, oh, you think it's poop? Well, I guess we're gonna be redoing that. So you see how this leg is kind of like, with this, the way this form is, it kind of makes sense for the second leg to originate somewhere in here. Like, this would be the origin point, and currently I have it originating over there. So like, can the human body even bend this much? It's like, can it? I'm trying to bend my own leg in this way, and yeah, no, I think I have a terminal case of having a spine, which kind of makes this whole exercise kind of, it's like, no, I can't possibly turn my body in a way that matches this, so I am going to assume it is wrong. And there's also probably a problem with the shoulders as well. So like, the neck is sticking out somewhere in here, and then the shoulders should be, you know, this shoulder is actually good, I think, and then the other one is kind of setting off an alarm. Also, this guy is very buff, which is not really something you actually see in Splatoon. You don't really see a lot of buff guys in Splatoon. They're all like slim and But to be fair though, the guys in CSGO, which this is the other game, this is a crossover between, these guys are a bit more buff, so it'll have to do. Just get a bit of a butt, and then, you know, a frame like this I think is better. And then we fix the other leg to not originate from the side of his body. As funny as that is, look, basically it would be like having a dude like this, and he's like got one normal leg, but the other leg just sticks out, you know, from this part of his body. And the rest of it is pretty normal, right? It's just this leg. That's basically what that looks like to me. So I'm going to have to change it. The plus side of this is actually, hold on, this is too aggressive even. So like, how is this body shaped? I'd like this shoulder to be higher, not lower. Like this, perhaps. And then that's the torso, so it's like kind of, if I were to draw lines on the form, I'd go with something like this, right? Supposedly. But this is supposed to be slightly leaning forward, so maybe what I'm doing wrong is I'm not accounting for that on this side, and that's why it's looking weird. It's frankly an unresolved issue as far as I'm concerned. Turns out I'm not particularly well educated on this, which is my own fault. Like, nobody's going to be, you know, oh, nobody's gonna be educating you, sweetie. Yes. Something like that. So I am responsible for teaching this to myself, but that doesn't change the fact that I haven't done it. So, you know, I'm not quite at where I probably could be if I did know this. But I think this is a bit of a more reasonable shape for the legs, but I haven't at all solved the upper body. The upper body feels completely wrong, but the leg has to move there. I'm fairly certain. I have to move the leg behind him. I have to move it there. And then the body is kind of like, this is rotated so that the front of it is here, as opposed to the kind of hips line, which has the front here. So he's got like this rotation in the body that'll make it so, I think it's kind of like the two curves do it kind of like this. This is a very bad line. It doesn't really capture what is happening. It would be better to draw the spine like this, and then the spine goes like that, something like that. And then on top of the spine you got the rib cage, which is shaped something like that. There's a problem here that I'm not even sure if in the lore squids have bones at all. I think they honestly might not. So, you know, take the idea about the rib cage a little bit. Who am I kidding? We are definitely doing human anatomy, whether or not they have bones. So, you know what? I probably shouldn't care too much. Because I already don't care too much. It's like, okay. Let's try something like this. So these are the shoulders. Alright. And then these are the hips going kind of around. Alright, I'm gonna try and do it using circles, because frankly, there's definitely techniques that make this a whole lot easier, but I'm kind of making my own one on the spot. So, you know, stick with me if you'd like to see how that goes. So this would be a bit like that. This is all the way in there, and this one is facing slightly in this direction. That's these kind of ovals are, I think, what is gonna help me actually understand this form. So then this arm goes forward mostly, forward and over. So it's probably in my best interest to draw it somewhere like this, I think, because I think I made it too long. because I didn't account for the fact that it doesn't go, you know, this direction. It actually goes this direction, but it's like close to the camera, right? So that's kind of the idea I'm going for here. It's not very good, but I think I'll polish it in the next iteration on this. So bear with me for now. So we've got the hand. We don't have to care too much about the hand. I think it looks decent, although that is perhaps on the chopping block later. Entirely possible for that to be changed. I'm not too sure about it. I'm frankly just not too sure about anatomy in general. So now that he's got this hand kind of over there, then I'm looking at how it looks on my body, and it's basically the forearm. No, the arm is basically alongside the body. So it's like the arm is somewhere like this, and then you've got a 90-degree turn towards where the hand is. So the hand is kind of like this, and then you got that connected to the elbow of that. But it's like the elbow is actually kind of even past the leg in this configuration, and I have to account for the fact that it's rotated, so it's like it's more like this, I think, something like that. I should probably turn it into a color that sticks out more. That's not a great choice. Oh yeah, hold on. We'll do this. Okay, this is green. This is a bit more noticeable, let's say. Okay, so now what I'm thinking I can do is I can take what I've just done, and yeah, I can do another layer on top of it to kind of try and figure it out. So drop the opacity of this to like barely noticeable degree, drop the opacity of this severely, and then add a layer and figure out what we can do with that. We're gonna use a bluer color so it's more visible on top of the green, and we're gonna try and figure out what the joints of this look like, of this guy look like. It's kind of like the knee, which then, you know, has this curve for the hip, and then goes into, you know, there's the area between hips, and then this is actually taken up by the other hip going to the other knee. So now we get the other knee. Alright, we get it. It looks something like this, I'm thinking. Now this knee probably ends somewhere around here, so we'll have the line going towards the knee from the other hip. Something like this, perhaps. This looks pretty good, because I don't want to give this guy very thick legs, because that's not really, if you look at Splatoon, that's not really what happens in that game. They've got fairly thin legs, but I am combining this with the more realistic proportions and style of CS, so, you know, it is what it is. We're gonna make a simple kind of blobby foot for this, because that's not really the point, although perhaps it should be. I think this leg might be slightly too long on the towards the end there, although I am also not sure about how, if this is not just proper proportions and I'm not used to them, because the things I usually draw are very much simpler than that. But I think this is actually better. Yeah. This seems to be better. This is probably genuinely in the territory of it's just fine, it's just preference, or rather it's, you know, it's an artistic decision to make. Hi, Hunter! I'm fine! Turn off caps lock, maybe. I'm not your dad. Hello. How's your going insane? Because I've genuinely, I don't know. I've continued going insane, so but it turns out talking to yourself on the internet, or then talking to other people on the internet, is nice, regardless. So I don't really have anything coherent prepared. Last time I kinda, no caps Caps lock is funny as demonstrate. That's true. This is the most hilarious chat I've ever read. In fact, I'm going to have to stop myself from glancing at my other monitor in case I erupt with laughter and then I die of suffocation. It's a serious possibility, and I have to be very careful about it. So yeah, to be like that. You ever try to figure out anatomy? It turns out like human body pretty complicated. I don't know. I've gotta have a word with the guy who designed it. Sorry, lest I'll Sudoku my friend. Don't worry, I have caps lock resistance built in. It'll take a lot more, I think, to whittle me down. Try to figure out my peen. Okay. I mean, you know, that is a flex, you know. What can I say? It works. You know, I mean, you know what? It's a good thing actually that doctors don't do this. Can you imagine? Actually, I can imagine. There's probably, in fact, there's probably somebody has on the internet. We are on the internet, so somebody has probably already written a story about a scenario exactly like this, and I've just realized I don't want to explore it any further. So, doctors do that with their peen. I'm not sure about that one. I am not convinced. You are gonna have to present. Actually, don't present me any evidence. I don't even want to engage with that at all. Work's done for the day. Chilling on an RPG. There we go. That's nice. I am pretending to chill, but in fact, I am constantly shaking and crying and posting on Twitter.com. This is merely a front for me to have an alibi when somebody calls me, you know, oh, you are mad, and why would you even respond? I say, I'm actually don't care about this. Look, here's proof. I'm actually drawing at the same time. You can see on this conveniently set up live stream. I don't ever see you post on Twitter. Yeah, I wonder... Where's your at? I've been, in fact, banned from Twitter by myself. I've just deleted my account. To be fair, I've barely used it, but I was like, why would I ever use this website? And then I deleted my account, and that was it. Ever since then, that was at the time where Parler was starting. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna go to Parler and maybe that's gonna be more nice. And then it turns out that's just boomers talking about politics. So, well, you're playing with my heart. I have a Minds account with an @Tord handle. If you, for some unreasonable reason, use Minds. Just, they've been doing a pretty good job of trying their hardest to, like, get me off the platform. By just doing the most retarded bullshit. Minds is lame, I agree. But the thing is, Twitter is also fake and gay. So Minds is ran by people who I don't believe they are at all competent at anything. Because they are having a hard time persistently storing booleans. Which, you know, for anyone unfamiliar, booleans are the least amount of information you can store, which is either a 0 or a 1. And they have a thing that, you know, and they are just incapable of storing one of those persistently, which you would think for someone who's working on a, you know, business that is based around an application would be a problem, but they keep chugging along nonetheless, regardless of that incompetence. It's like, yeah, you can network on Twitter. That's, you know, I'm not really calling every Twitter user retarded and stupid, but, you know, it's probably good reasons to use it. I can't. I'm using Minds to just post whatever I draw to somewhere that has like comments and such that isn't Pixiv, because Pixiv is kind of not It doesn't seem to be made for that at all. So every Twitter user is routed and pooped. Yeah. You know what? You've convinced me. I have now become a Twitter anti-Twitter extremist, and therefore will probably get banned off of somewhere for that. I don't know. I don't know. Every time there's so many times where I hear people complaining how they go like somebody had a retarded post on Twitter, and it's like, how many times can you complain to me about this before you just don't use that application anymore? Like, please. Stop inflicting this on yourself and then complaining to me, damn it. I don't understand. It's like people who play video games and they get mad every game. It's like, why? Should I evenly level up all my party members or perpetually only use the best ones? I am a level them all up kind of dude. I would also probably be the kind of dude to just grind to level them all up one by one and then lose interest in the game because of that stupid decision. So take my word carefully about this, because, well, first of all, I don't play RPGs, really. I play like, I don't. When I was a kid, I would only use my starter in Pokemon, so I own the opposite gang then. They level the one guy up until he's like, you know, a demigod on Earth. Just get him to absolute maximum potential. The problem is when that guy dies, there's gonna be a lot of sunken cost. Although I suppose that depends on the RPG, because if you don't actually lose the character, you just reload the save, and that's fine. You can always reload the save, go grind more, level him up even more. And I only had moves all the same type. Damn. There's, I think there's a diversity police squad card that's been dispatched to your house, and you should probably start packing up. Get the Tannerite dog ready. Yeah, there's certainly some reason why that's not allowed and racist. In this day and age, it's gotta be. Here is why picking the fire-type Pokemon is blank. And you should be blanked for it. Blanked from the internet, that is. Regardless, okay, no one actually has Tannerite dogs here. I mean, that, sure, I believe that. Feds listening, listen. Tannerite dogs are not real, they cannot hurt you. Please continue shooting every dog, especially if they are not moving. Although, I prefer to imagine there's plenty of Tannerite dogs over there. It sounds more funny. Tannerite is inert after a certain point of time of being mixed, so it's dumb. You know what? What if you made a, I don't know. There's surely some way you can make it work. It's like, my daily chore is to replace the Tannerite in the dog. You take it out, put a next batch in, so the dog stays operational. Or perhaps, you know, use something else that isn't Tannerite, presumably, that is a bit more stable. Something, you know, I don't know. Or maybe instead of sticking real chores for real kids circa 2026, hopefully we've got until 2026. Or perhaps, you know, you could depart with tradition, since that seems to be the drill these days, and you could surprise the feds with some, you know, interesting different invention. They'll never guess what's coming next. Like, what is going to be on this property? Saying, well, Tannerite giraffe. How about that? I mean, surely if you're a fan, you're raiding a house and you see a giraffe, like, surely that's like a dog but with a longer neck, so it still works, but they are never going to expect the Tannerite, because Tannerite goes in dogs, not giraffes. I'm thinking this plan is making a lot of sense. So you know, I'm not saying buy my book because I haven't written one yet, but I think you know, how to survive a Fed raid on your house is going to be a bestseller when it finally comes out. Your logic is perfect. I know. I have a diploma from IED University. There's that one professor that's been teaching there for a while. Unfortunately, he passed away recently. F man, R.I.P. Uh, I don't know. I don't know. That's the problem. When I recently, it has been, yeah. It was a sad day. The hood lost a real one this day. Oh man. How the hell do you attach a head to shoulders? I mean, I know there's this thing called a neck, but how the hell fucking necks? How do they work? You know, I've made this weird. As if it wasn't weird enough before. Very carefully. This is a good answer. This is as good an answer as the how do you eat an elephant? I was like, well, a piece at a time. Right? It's like, I mean, it technically answers the question, and you know, as I think something established, the technically correct is the best kind of correct, which, well, it depends on if you are on the receiving end or on the serving end, I suppose. I think it's a whole lot better on the serving end, for that. Okay, does this make any sense, what I've just done? It's difficult to figure out. It turns out, you know, there's a reason why people practice these things, and perhaps the reason just might be that the people would like to get better at these. Eating an elephant one piece at a time isn't simply a meme response. I mean, it isn't, that's true, but it still kind of sounds like one. It's solid advice, but at the same time, it's like if you have someone who's somewhat doesn't know what the hell to do. It's like, yeah, if you have a large yeah, it's divide and conquer basically. Like apply divide and conquer is it's a funny little story to illustrate that. It's like split it into parts that are manageable, and then do it, right? That works way better when you already have the task kind of defined. It's like, what the hell are you doing in the first place? It's like, if you have that figured out, then, you know, this is a very solid advice for how to accomplish basically anything, right? Because at the end of the day, if you split a task, you can split a task into learning how to do certain things to do later tasks. So it's basically anything that is within your, like, ability. And it's probably better to assume that most things are within your ability, because otherwise you might as well just lay in bed and never get up, which is slightly counterproductive, or maybe even majorly counterproductive. At least, you know, I've found that to be not very useful. It's like, turns out getting off your ass, it's like kind of makes things happen usually. Do be like that. But anyway, this head shape is wrong. Something's wrong about the shape of this head. Maybe it's too big. Maybe it's not round enough. Maybe it's not proportionate. Maybe it's something else. Maybe it doesn't end properly. Yeah, this is better. I just probably will scale it up. So, where do I want this guy's head to be facing? Do I just change him to face forwards like this? I mean, this doesn't really work because his head is tilted. At least the neck's tilted. Could be... No, this makes no sense. But does everything have to make sense in the drawing? well, it's funny that for most people it doesn't, but my utterly autistic brain kind of brings me back and is like, and slaps me into, yeah, it has to make sense. You are probably not going to enjoy it very much if it doesn't. And because this is a hobby and I do it because I'd like to do it, actually being satisfied with what I do is kind of a part of it. It's like, and because of that, I kind of keep pushing myself, even though plenty of people not only don't care, but if they look at it, it's like, why the hell are you doing that again? This was already done. It's like, no, sure, but it wasn't done right though. And if you don't understand it, then I don't know what to say. It's very unfortunate. Very unfortunate, very understandable at the same time, because, well, over time I have noticed that attention to detail is not particularly a particularly widespread trait, and I say that not really even to brag, or it's not the point. It's just know your audience, right? It's like, if I was doing this for an audience, I'd presumably go about it very differently. But because I'm doing this mostly for myself, I am going to go about it in the way that benefits me more than anyone else. And it's just, you know, if anyone else gets something out of it, that's nice. That's a nice bonus, but it's not the primary goal. And the thing about the primary goal is there's not really a goal. Slash, I don't even know what the goal is myself. It's weird. It's like, do I have to have a goal in drawing? It's like, is improving at drawing even my goal, really? Or do I just want to draw because it feels nice and the getting better at it is just a bonus on top? It's like, you know, I do. Because the reason why I don't really do a lot of practice, like directly, I do practice if I'm interested in you know, trying something out, essentially. Like with the shading practices or anatomy practices I've posted, it's like, oh, I'm kind of interested in how this works, so I'm gonna do some practice to understand it, but I am not very interested in practicing for the sake of it. It's like, not very interested in grinding, perhaps is a way to put it. So it's like, the grind would be, you know, the repetitive kind of thing where you do one thing over and over again to memorize it, get in your head. But I feel like I kind of have backdoored that anyway into my own process because I keep drawing the same stuff over and over again. At least it feels like it to me, that I just, you know, repeat stuff. Not everything needs to be intellectualized. Well, perhaps. Draw because it's fun. Maybe, you know, maybe. I mean, it's kind of what I'm doing. But it's very hard for me to kind of whack this into my brain. Like, listen, do you know how to relax? Like, buddy, I mean saying this to my brain. Right? Could we chill for a moment and just not? Then it's like then it's like some activities that absorb the brain enough to the point where it can relax. It's like that's escapism, right? Surely, or is it? Is that different? Because that's not really escapism, or is it? Is it escapism? Probably is. It's like you want to leave whatever the hell you are currently thinking about and living with, in favor of detaching yourself and going to some other place intellectually, or rather like with your consciousness, just, you know, engaging, immersing yourself in something else to get away. That's gotta be like the definition of escapism. It's not that it's wrong. It's like, escapism is fine as long as you are not, you know, escaping your life entirely. Saying, some people might even say you are allowed to relax. That's a crazy thought. Translating it to my own brain is pretty difficult. I just don't seem I seem to not get it on a certain level that I feel like maybe I've not been raised with it, basically. I think is kind of how I go about it. It's like it's something that I need to learn because I was lacking it, or maybe I never got it. Because I've been probably told about it plenty. It's like that it's important and you should do it and it's not a problem. Hold on. Pardon. I'm back. In before. Another knock on the door, or rather, who gives a shit? I'm entering anyway, kind of situation. Happens. It happens. All right, this is, I think, better in terms of. I would even say this is almost good if I maybe add a couple additional support lines to this, so I figure out the form better, how it like is constructed. The who gives a shit stuff bothers me deeply. As in, just, you know, I'm just gonna knock at the door and then enter immediately regardless. I don't care. If that's what you are referring to, I am, you know, I am pedantic as hell. I'll say that. But, and it's just somebody, like, there's certain standards that are simple to do, and if somebody doesn't maintain them, it pisses me off to no end, and this is one of them. It's like, you know, if you don't receive an answer, perhaps, but maybe wait for that to happen first, you know? I don't know. I need to lock my doors better. Get one of those wooden, you know, horizontal things that blocks your door. Just do that, and then something to silence the screams on the outside. It's like truly and finally, I have made myself soundproof. But until that happens, I'm just going to be, you know, I'm just going to be slightly bothered about it, and I'm, well. Treats kids as if they aren't worthy of privacy, and instead all that matters is you can get in or not. It's like, well, it's not really kids, it's just a general attitude of, it's not even parents, it's siblings, in this case. It's just a matter of, I don't know how to, it's a matter of attitude, right? It's like, do you feel entitled to you know, to get into this person's room immediately, or would you rather, you know, I don't know, man. It's a matter of attitude. It's a matter of attitude and a certain standard. It's like, I wouldn't, when I knock on the door, I wait for somebody inside to respond, right? It's like, what if you are playing music and you are not going to hear anybody knocking at the door? It's like, well then, well, you've got a problem, but is this so important that you have to get it in immediately and talk about it? And it just comes back to a matter of how much do you respect this person's time and attention. It's like, maybe the reason I'm listening to music in the first place is you know, sounds from the outside don't come in. Like, that's precisely the reason I'm trying to avoid what you are trying to do. And so, you know, if you enter and demand my attention for something, it's like, okay. probably a lot of this is just, you know, how it's been set up in your home and how it's been kind of how it's always worked in a way, what the tradition for it is, like what the attitude is. The elbow is completely broken. That's something that's bothered me, but I can't really, I don't know really what to do about it, because it requires people to you know, it requires people that probably don't care about it a lot to change it, and that's usually a hard sell. Because if you don't care about it, then, well, either you care about the person that tells you, oh, this bothers me, please don't do it, but even if it's that, because you don't care about it personally, you're probably not going to do, it's not going to come naturally, and so it's more likely you're going to mess it up. Although, that's the thing, I'm trying to play kind of devil's advocate, but honestly, in most of the cases, it's a matter of you just didn't try. It's like you just didn't try at all to make this not a problem. That's also annoying. It's like, I can clearly tell you don't care by the... I'm not even... I don't want to make it sound like my family's horrible or anything, but, like, just... But there's a bunch of these that just annoy me. It's also a bit because I do go out of my way to not do those things. And so, often, you know... It's often that when I go out of my way to do something and then somebody else just doesn't bother, it's particularly annoying. Although surely I don't even have to explain that. Probably, actually, not that I have. It's just, you know, it is what it is. To quote, to quote the famous internet phrase that's been going around. There's something wrong with the torso now. Is it like this? Probably. I think I've figured out the shape of this head and such. It's, you know what? It's similar with drawing. It's like, it often bothers me when people kind of figure out one part of the equation. Family of origin patterns matter, yeah. It kind of bothers me when people draw stuff and I can clearly tell from the end result, it's like, oh, you've put all your focus on perhaps getting the shading right. Somebody's got, you know, good color choices, good shading, you know, good kind of composition. And then you just notice that they've clearly not paid, like, basically not paid any attention to the anatomy. And so you notice, like, oh, this arm is sticking out from a place that an arm clearly doesn't stick out. It's like, you know, you see that, it's like, you are so close. It's like if you are putting in all this effort for shading and such, it's like, why would you, like, just add this little bit of extra effort to get this right, and it's gonna be so much better. And instead, you know, all I'm focusing on is the thing that's been done to not a high enough standard, and it just, you know, stands out like a sore thumb, and it draws attention to itself because it sticks, because, you know, because it is of lower quality than the rest of the piece. It kind of goes back to the RPGs, like, well, do you do the one, do you level up the one thing to the maximum, or do you kind of try and balance it out? And I think for these kinds of things, when this is perceived as a whole, I think you basically should kind of keep your skill level at the like aspects of it kind of similar, or otherwise. Actually, I'd even say, like, the anatomy and shapes. No, I wouldn't say that. I'd say just get good. That's what I'd say. Have I watched Napoleon Dynamite? Of course, as per usual with anything, I've not watched it, and I don't even know what it is. I am entirely uncultured still. And that's probably not going to change anytime soon. Right, this is pretty good, I'd say, although the 3D of this is kind of something like this. It's like trying to draw pants on this guy so we can kind of see where the 3D, where he is in 3D space and how his body parts connect. So I'll give him briefs, kinda. I think this somewhat works. You failed me again for the first time for the last time. I have indeed, and I'll most likely continue to do so because I continue to not watch anything. I don't know. I just can't be asked. Maybe it's a matter of I just can't relax like a normal person. Maybe it's a matter of something. Maybe I just should just watch a movie. But on the other hand, I don't know. Posted the short clip. All right, I can open that. I can open that. It's not even gonna play in the stream because I have desktop audio muted. Okay. Grab the headphones. Okay, draw a picture of a girl you want to ask out. How is this gonna turn out? Is the funny going to be that he's actually terrible at drawing? Well, I think that's what it's going to be. But then the second funny could be that she's going to fall for him anyway. Alright. Okay, I think the joke is that he's just bad at drawing. And God damn it. At the end of the clip there's just a YouTube subscribe button animation. I watched the damn clip. Are you behind the stream? Perhaps. God damn. The absolute audacity of this channel to upload a clip from a movie and then just add at the end like a stock YouTube subscribe animation. That got me. I did laugh at the subscribe button. Indeed. Listen, I could not have predicted the subscribe button. The drawing joke. I saw what the joke is going to be from the very, like, the first 3 lines he drew were basically, it could have probably predicted the joke from the setup and the fact that the guy is fucking ugly. However, I would have never expected a movie clip to end with a random stock subscribe button animation. That's way more funny to me. Zoomer humor, I probably, as my sense of humor has been absolutely deteriorated. I don't, I don't find the right thing funny, very clearly. Or, you know what? There's going to be a day. There's probably not going to be a day when I stop being autistic. I think I have to come to terms with that. Dude, I don't know. I've not figured out what makes me laugh yet. But I actually know. I have figured out that if you stretch a PNG horizontally, it makes me laugh. That's pretty reliable. And then the fact that that is funny to me is also funny to me. It's humor autism on a meta level. This is presumably why nobody likes me. I'm kidding. I don't think nobody likes me for the record, but it is still a funny joke to me from time to time. Okay, let's bring back the opacity of this a little bit and try and... Yeah, so... Is the original anatomy even that bad? The leg's certainly bad. I've made the chest of this guy way more buff in the new version. Is this even... I don't know if this is even better, if it's just different. No, it is significantly different. He's leaning way less, and actually, can I let me do this. Let's scale it up a little bit. Rotate it a bit. Okay, so the legs are clearly just completely different. The shoulders are completely different. The head position is completely different. Everything's completely different. Okay, do I just do a second version of all of this? Or do I try again to re-understand? Because I have a problem with the anatomy in the original, that's the problem. So, I don't... Okay, let's try and edit this so it's a bit closer to where the original was at. So first of all, we gotta figure out how the face is gonna be shaped. So that's kind of important. I've made it face in a different direction, which is going to impact how the whole thing looks like. But I think if I define the shape of the head, that's gonna do this as solid. Maybe even add the triangle ears, just for good measure. Okay. Boop. Something like that. I mean, it's pretty difficult. Is it difficult? I can never tell. That's the problem. It's difficult until it suddenly isn't. Until you understand it, and then it's not difficult until you see the new thing that you've done wrong, and it becomes difficult again because you no longer understand what was good in the first place. I've just realized I didn't start the timer this time, so, well. Oh well, no timer. I could randomly start it now, that'd be pretty funny. So that's exactly what I'm gonna do. And, can pretend nothing's ever happened. Now, is there any point to the timer? No. There's literally no reason for the timer to be there. There's nothing it indicates aside from time passing. And I didn't even see the timer, so... I don't know. Maybe in a future life I'll figure out a purpose for the timer, and I'll back what's it called, retcon it in. You know, the show will go on, and then one day there'll be a big reveal of the timer was actually building up to something all along, and nobody suspected a thing. You know, even this fact that this has been, you know, even this forgetting to start the timer at the beginning of the stream has been planned by the studio and will actually have a payoff 20 episodes down the line. Okay. I'm not making this any better, am I? Is this a case of over-improving, or is this a case of I'm just not satisfied with the original, so I'm just gonna keep iterating on it until I am? I think that's basically what this is. It's just I need this to look right by the standard of how I just see things. And if it doesn't, I'll just try again, because, you know, fitting with the title of the stream, the definition of insanity, as per the funny Far Cry 3 guy, is indeed to do things over and over again, expecting different results. If you rotate the right wrist so it grips the handle, it'll less likely look like a guitar. I can't see how it looks like a guitar, but I can definitely see that this is not a strong grip. Yeah, it's kind of, that's a good point, although I'm not yet sure how I'll go about handling that. So would the wrist go a bit more like, I think it's maybe more of a matter how the fingers are done. So if the fingers were like this, then he's more like, no, the angle of the, as you were saying, I need to rotate the wrist because the angle of the wrist itself is bad. So perhaps I actually have to start all the way up at the elbow, and that's going to allow me to have a flatter angle for the hand. If you remove the gun for the pick, it could easily be substituted for a guitar, probably. Okay, I understand. That translates way better to my brain as a criticism. Makes sense. I'm gonna try and remedy that by changing the angle of the hands, but we'll see how well that goes. So if I have something like this, is this any better? It's like, is he closer to holding it actually? Surely with these more pronounced like fingers and the different angle, it's because also the gun is like at this angle, like this plane, right? If you, that is also how you would hold a guitar. So it kind of makes sense, and it's not like holding it in a shooting position. So it also, that also adds, and this grip also, this hand should also be made so it's more like an actual grip over it, as opposed to, you know, the whatever the hell weird thing it was before. Is this still, no, this is certainly less of a guitar kind of grip, I'm thinking, but I think I'll kind of be unsure about it until I see it kind of in action. Gotta add a bit more to it before I... Okay, this angle, this hand's angle is still bad. I think it's mostly this entire arm that's just bad on this. So let's try and add this thing back and then figure out kind of how this should work. Okay, like something like this, something like that. Excuse the horrend. Okay, the handle is also at a completely different angle to everything else. That's probably part of the problem, because this is not in one plane. So if this is not in one plane, then of course the hand's also gonna be wrong, because none of it makes any sense in 3D space. So like the mag is actually completely at a completely different angle to the to the handle, and that just makes the whole thing incoherent, and it manifests in bad anatomy down the line, because if I attach, if I attach the arm like this, then the hand like this, then the rest of the arm has to be a certain way, etc, etc. Okay, hold on, let me get this on another layer, and actually just, the neon magenta color surely should help with figuring this out. It's like, get these in one plane, please. This is kind of the idea. So for these to be in one plane, there's something like this, presumably, and there's... Now this is way the hell too wide, so I have to grab it, move it in a little bit more to where the handle is. Okay, so now I can actually... I've moved it a bit too high. With this set up, which is probably something I should have done from the very beginning, because it makes this whole thing easier to visualize in 3D space. So it's like this should also be in one plane with that, surely. Let's say, pardon these very cryptic helper lines, but they do help my brain figure it out, so... Okay, this is a horrendous stock, but I'll figure it out. Okay, rotate the offhand wrist, which is, I assume, the one on the towards the end of the barrel. I assume, absolutely not being sure. Toward the body, so it's more underneath. Okay, and the primary hand rotate clockwise, so it's more up down. Up down? Okay, I'll try what my version of this I think is, and you can tell me if I'm retarded or turbo retarded. How's that? Okay, so this would be more like this, that you have the fingers going like the entire arm is... No, that's more what it was. Up down, like gonna give a thumbs up. I think that's compatible with what I'm trying to do. Give me a hot second. I'll get onto it. I'm thinking if this is the right direction to go with the fingers on towards the barrel. I think it kinda is. It just probably has to be moved up a little bit. It's very similar to what it was. I'm not sure if that's necessarily a good thing. But I think this hand is mostly correct. I think it's the other one that is very bad, and the fingers are in a different position now. They are actually going like this, and not like this, which should also help. And then for the other hand, it has to kind of go... It's like normally if you would be holding a handle, which I realize that, making hand gestures is not very useful when I have no webcam, but when you're holding a handle, like the palm of your hand is kind of parallel to the handle. Maybe perhaps the wrist goes a little bit towards the handle, while the top of the hand goes a tiny bit away, and then the fingers wrap around it. Actually, so it's also a matter of I've made the handle pretty big, but also the hands are big as well. So yeah, I'm just looking. The nice thing about drawing hands is generally you have hands on you usually, so it's very easy to get a reference. That doesn't make it particularly easier to draw, but at least Okay, let's see. So this is like that. And then you've got... So it would be like... Oh yeah, it would be more. Okay, so the handle... Okay, I've got the handle at the wrong angle completely. This is way the hell too... way the hell too slanted. The handle should be way more like this, and now it's gonna make a lot more sense if I do it like this. So if I have the handle a lot more like that, it's... Yeah, this looks a lot more like a proper handle. I think, and I can make it a bit thinner. Something like this, yeah. Ah, don't want to erase that. Okay, this is a very weird kind of AK-ish weapon with a stock that doesn't work really. But I'm just trying to figure out, you know, the mag is completely broken. Let's try and rein it in a bit. That's not really reining it in, is it? That's wide. New upgrade, wider mags. Changing the handle will fix. Yeah, the changing the handle will force me to fix the hand, and I'm changing the handle because I understood what you meant about the thumbs up and like rotating the thing. Approximation of an AK. Yeah, it's kind of similar as kind of what I'm going for. It's got similar features. I've really not. I didn't want to look at the reference, so I just didn't. So it's just kind of whatever came to my head in the moment. But okay, so the angle goes a little bit like this, perhaps, for this, and then you got the fingers gripping around the handle, and they don't go quite that far. It's like the end a little bit after it. You can have the trigger finger be a bit forward, and then probably adjust the wrist to be more in line with the proportions I'm actually using. And then also these fingers are not correct, but I'll figure that out in a moment. Now that I have this, the hand on the grip, point the index finger forward and the rest of the finger. Sure, we're adding trigger discipline. Why not? You're probably correct. That is a long ass finger. Probably shouldn't be doing that. Also, the thumb exists, and it is usually the handle. Honestly, if I'm gonna exaggerate the proportions of the hands this much, which I am doing, I should probably be thinking about how this works. No guitar pose now. Yeah, it's just, it's still somewhat wrong, but I think it's getting better. It's getting towards an approximation of something that looks somewhat okay. I think hands first, and then I'll redo the gun, because I've got to kind of scale it up, perhaps. Probably scaling it up is actually what it's missing. Yeah, I think pretty much that. Now this is kind of in the way. I've changed the angle, the entire angle which this guy's at. I've changed with this anatomy kind of setup, but that's alright because I can always just base another one on what I've currently done. Yeah, this is better in terms of hands. It's just I still struggle to get it correctly, but I'll figure it out. So the thumb goes something like this. Probably? Does it? What the hell happens to the thumb? Let me get this handle. So the thumb is... Yeah, this is the problem of exaggerated proportions. Just gotta figure out what the hell happens. Say something like this. So the thumb goes... The thumb is almost in line with the index finger somehow. So it's basically from this position, I kind of don't have to worry about it. It just influences the shape of the hand. So it's like, instead of a trapeze like that, it's a different kind of trapeze. This makes no sense because I'm not doing anything on the stream to illustrate it, but makes sense in my head somewhat. So it's like basically like this, then you got the trigger finger, and then you've got the rest of the fingers being kind of like down slightly from this angle, I think. Slightly down, and then they bend. something like this. On a real gun, your thumb is basically in line with the index finger. Yeah, that's what I figured, basically. I've gotta get me one of those. Gotta get on it. I'll chalk it up to needing a reference for drawing or something. This is just wrong. Let's do it again. You know why this is wrong? This is wrong with that, because that's wrong. So the finger is like this. Where does the finger start? The finger doesn't start here. Why am I so insistent on doing it this way? It's not like that. It starts more like here. And it doesn't go all that low. If you ever decide to get one, I'll let you know. You know, we'll settle that matter. It's probably better to get advice from people who get experience with that sort of stuff. You know, instead of just depending on 3 question marks. Okay, this is not a great hand, but it's, I think, functional enough so that the next iteration is gonna be functional. So I'm gonna stop myself from redoing it too many times, although I will make this finger more reasonably sized. It's screwed. This hand is screwed, but the point is it's located in a way that, okay. Is this better? This has got to be better. Yeah, this is definitely better. This is definitely better. And I think what is actually missing now is something pretty simple, which is I could separate the legs from the top of the body. Group the legs together with the gun, the arms and head together with the gun. And now I can make the character lean by just moving the top of the body so he leans. Would you look at that? Now he leans. Much better. Yeah, I think so. Now I can basically make him lean by just moving these. And unlocking this has notified me that this leg is too short on the thigh side. Thigh. Those sound exactly the same. Anyway, it's probably like this. And then, you know, he's got something like that, presumably. This is still not leaning like a normal person. It's not leaning because the shoulders are wrong, I think. It's both that this is not far enough ahead of his legs, and that the shoulders and the resulting arm positions are wrong. And the other leg is also wrong. It's impressive just how much wrong there is with this stuff. There's no other way to learn than to figure out, you know, one by one, figure it out. Let's mirror this. Okay, now, the thing about this arm that's completely messed up is the shoulders are currently facing in a different direction from all the rest of it, and they shouldn't be. So it should be something like this, where this goes towards the camera, and this is more like, yeah, it's more like this shape, although this shape is still bad. And then the shoulder should be like, yeah, because if, okay, I get it. If he's leaning, then his shoulder line is kind of behind his, there we go. Okay, that's much better. Now the neck is very short, but that's not something we can't fix. So just, the head wasn't good anyway, so might as well. I'm gonna fix this in a second iteration, but this head is massive. Maybe drop the size of this a little bit. yeah, it's something like this, except we put his head a bit more on his shoulders. And then he's got the good old gamer posture right there. uh, that makes it better. Yeah, this is way closer to the actual pose I'm going on. I'm going for now. His upper body is now disproportionately large compared to the legs, which I could solve by scaling the top of the body down, or I could solve it by scaling the legs up, or I could solve it in an entirely different way as well. Let me think about it. This arm position is not... Actually, I've made it worse because it was... It's important for the I think elbow to be lower down here, perhaps, and then the shoulder to be sticking out a little bit more. Just skips leg day. Skipped leg day all the way from birth up until now. It's never used its legs, so they just never grew. Now I kind of forgot about the part where people have hips, and then there's this funny bone, like it looks a little something like this, I think. In you get there's this leg 1, leg 2, and then there's the spine, and then the rib cage. It's like this bone, where is it? What happened to this bone, which I do not know the English name for? I think the problem is that one of the legs is just balked. That's not a massive problem because lasso selects are here to save the day. I'll just grab the leg and I'll slide it forward a little bit, and that should fix most of the issue. I could even extract the leg to a separate layer, but actually that's probably unnecessary. The nice bonus about this is I actually get a little bit more space here, which lets me define the leg a bit more, and lets me actually move it to its proper place. Something like this, and then it's something like that. Pelvis, that's right. I've used the name of this bone because I've used it for like character rigging in 3D. That's why I encountered the name, but I couldn't remember it. AKA hips. I mean, actually, yeah. Okay, makes sense. But the hip bone? No, the hip bone. Is it the hip bone? Could you call it the hip bone? Is this the hip bone? Like this bone here? Is this the hip bone? Or is that the thigh bone? Okay. This hand is actually too tiny now. So to maintain the exaggeratedness with the other, yeah, yes, hip bone. All right, that's kind of what I was thinking. Okay, I think this is a pretty big improvement over what I had initially. Now the exact shape of the arms is probably gonna be hip bones connected to the leg bone. Is that just another reference? I am terrible at this. Sorry. Unless it was just the way I said it, but I suspect there's gonna be a reference. Boom. Boom, boom, boom. And then if he's wearing a shirt, it goes a little something like this. Surely? Or does it? No, it doesn't. That's not good. Okay, the head, I've messed up what was good about it, which is that the front is a bit more pronounced than the back. That is important because that sets up the proper way to look at the shoulder line. And I'm thinking I'm gonna scale the legs up a little bit, but I'm gonna have to make the thighs less powerful. Will I though? Because this is moving it too far. Are these better? I think this is about time to grab what I have and do another iteration on it. Another clip? Alright, let me watch it. The skeleton dance. Dem bones. Dem. This skeleton's doing pretty good for a guy that doesn't have any muscles. I talk about skipping leg day, this guy skipped everything day. Alright. I get the gist of this, I think. Skeleton. Skeletons. Alright. Would life be simpler if we were all skeletons? Like, without all the meat on top? As a question for the ages. Let's just disable the original drawing entirely. How about that? This actually looks a bit clearer. I wonder why. I think I've migrated to actually the gun being... I think I see what the most major change is from the original pose. So if you look at the way the gun is currently positioned, the gun is currently positioned in this direction, and the guy is, you know, also looking in this direction, and is also jumping in this direction. And what I had before was the gun being held kind of like this, with the guy looking in this direction and jumping in this direction. So now I've just kind of, you know, made the entirety of it in the same direction, which is not necessarily bad, but it's different to the original idea? Or is it though? I don't know, this pose feels more appropriate for something that's inspired by CS, so I think I'm gonna stick with it. It's just I'm gonna do another iteration on it. So let's group this layer, these layers together. The idea is cohesive. Well, perhaps, but there's also something to it, you know, the different directions maybe. The legs look like chicken legs. I've just noticed I need to scale them up. They have to be scaled up. There's no other way about it. Yeah, that's more proportionate now. Yo. Yes, I'm drawing. Funnily enough, I am currently, you know, if you looked at it from the perspective of a guy who isn't massively autistic, I am actually probably worse off in terms of progress than when I started. But if you ask me, how you doing? The only answer to how I'm doing is 3 question marks. I think that is the only appropriate answer that I could give that in any way reflects what I'm feeling, which is just 3 question marks. It's got to be. Look, the chat is a social experience once again. I am so proud of this community. Alright, let's figure out how arms work, shall we? Also, thank you very much for the tips on the on these things. It helps to get feedback on this stuff a lot, as opposed to me just because when you spend a bunch of hours on one thing, you start to go kind of mad, looking, trying to look, you know, like what the hell am I doing wrong? What the hell is bad? How long has this been? This drawing has been in the works for 4 hours 12 minutes for now. Total, according to Critis kind of document usage tracking. So, you know, okay, I'm thinking this is the iteration to actually give the hand some proper shape. It's like, how is the thing? I still don't know if Inklings have bones. That's not really. Nintendo hasn't really spoken on. They probably have, considering how extensive the lore is for that game. It's ridiculous. It's also very cool. What am I feeling? What am I feeling? I don't know. It's some flavor of existential crisis combined with the reason I put it as question marks is because I can't pin it down. It just keeps fluctuating, and I keep there's new things being considered by my brain, and it's just all being meshed together into I know nothing. I don't know what the hell to do. I don't know what I'm doing, why I'm doing it. I don't know anything. It leads me to just repeating I don't know over and over again, essentially. It's a bit complex. There's something wrong with this goddamn finger. Do you meditate and or pray? I don't know, maybe I should do more in that regard. Is it more happy or I want to be a piece of wood? It is more of a three question marks. I don't know if you could call what I do, I don't know what the hell you would call what I do. I just, you know, sit down and think, essentially, and just, you know, have a little prayer at the start of it, and just see what happens. Essentially. That's kind of how I was going about it. This hand I feel looks alright, but I've departed from the original idea of having 3 fingers in favor of having 4 fingers, which is I think I'm gonna change this to back to 3 fingers. Although, not sure if this is gonna work for this. Gonna probably have a bit more space between them. No, this is gonna look wrong. Do you believe in God? I think I do. It's complicated. But I think I choose to believe is... I think I choose to believe is probably the most accurate answer to that I can give at the moment for the state I'm in. Yeah, it's weird. It's weird, it's complicated, I've made this hand worse. I am indeed raised Catholic and currently Catholic. That's true. And also, I am from Poland, so what else would you expect? Just gotta have that, you know, as a caveat. It's like, you just need an experiential encounter with God? Yeah, presumably. Gotta probably pray for it more. But probably how that works, right? It just, you know, I mean, surely, you know, surely God can't blame me for asking if it's in the Bible you are asked to ask. And I can't have 4 fingers on one hand and then 3 in the other, and then they are completely disproportionate from one another. This is... Let me know when you want one. Alright. Interesting. You need to give money to the churches next to you. That's what I heard. I don't think that's a deep enough level to even entertain. Not deep enough level of thought. I don't go there, really. It's like, on the superficial level, it's like, no, it's just, I don't really care. That's the only... I know it's a joke, it's just... Is the problem is, the problem, the thing is, like, I'm grappling with these are as just like general life problems, and so I'm kind of not very... I don't know. It's not... I'm really trying to figure out an answer to it, and so it's a bit... It's 3 question marks. It's 3 question marks over and over again. That's what it is. It's like, I just don't know. And I feel like I don't know what I feel like. As the whole, it all comes down to like this. Hence why the title of the stream is I'm going insane, because that's what I feel like, I think. Okay. This is not how this works at all. Appliance repair. That's nice. Do you also do the modern smart ones, or only like old ones? Curious about that. Can I? I could be like the older people who like, oh, you do computers? Could you make a website for me? Could you fix my printer? It's like, they're all smart ones now. I suppose to be like that. A lot of replacing control boards. Is it fun to replace control boards? Actually, it might be somewhat simpler. Actually, depending on how it's set up, I suppose, but could be theoretically simpler than mechanical repairs if it's just like pull the chip out, replace it with a new one. Haven't done it yet. Haven't. Switching careers. Oh, okay. So you're gonna find out if it's fun. That's gonna be an interesting time. Is it like a complete career switch? Have you like never done anything like this before and just, you know, completely hopping into a new field? Mix of electrical, mechanical, and refrigeration. Refrigeration. Troubleshooting, but with my hands. That is fair. I've not done a lot of mechanical stuff. I've done a bunch. I've probably done more than your average guy, but I still am horrible at it. It's just, perhaps it's also because I'm not doing it by myself, so I'm kinda, I am a bit limited when it comes to like doing it my own way to learn it, because you know, there's usually someone experienced next to me who's like, this is how you do it. And it's like, okay, buddy, but I need to like feel it first. Let me figure it out, and I'm gonna be more useful. Instead of you show me how to do it, and then you are frustrated I didn't get it in 5 seconds, and then you are like, okay, let me do it. I'm for sure worse. It comes down to how much I think of it you've done mostly. But there's also some, I think there's also some talent to it. Certain people are just really good at handling mechanical stuff. I don't think I'm one of these people. I seem to be able to mess stuff up on the regular, even if I'm trying very hard. I don't know. I think as I get more experience, it will be clear if it's a lack of experience that's the reason, or if it's a lack of talent. You show me how to do it and get frustrated in 5 seconds when I don't do it perfectly. That describes my current boss. I mean, that describes, I think, a lot of people maybe it's people who like have forgotten how they've been taught, or maybe they have been taught like this and they just don't know any better. I don't really know why it is like that, but I feel like a lot of people who try to teach actually don't have any patience for people not knowing. And I get the frustration if you have a guy who's like not only doing everything wrong, but like not listening to anything you're telling him. I get the frustration, but then on the other hand, if you do it to people who are absolutely willing to learn, and you just, you know, expect them to know everything from the get-go, it's like why? I don't know. Probably overanalyzing it. It's probably way simpler than this. Not really good with my hands in any way. It's practice. I think it's practice. It's like, at the end of the day, it comes down to if you've trained your hands or not. It's same with drawing. It's like you don't start good. It's like you are not gonna be producing any masterpieces likely, you know, but over time, if you do go down the road of just spending hours and hours and years on it, eventually you are going to learn to produce something good. It's a learned skill, getting better than used to be. I think that's a road I'm going to have to go down, and pretty soon add that. Maybe that's part of why I'm just having this, this like very hard to swallow feeling. It's like I feel that there's things that coming that I'm not going to like doing at all, and I'm just kind of crunched up inside about it. Might be sense of impending doom, perhaps. Could be a good description of part of it. I'm not good. I'm not food at practice. I'm not good at practice, brother. I know what you mean. All right, I'm glad. It's, I don't know if it's being good at practice. Practice just felt that way after Don's last stream of Sniper the other day. I didn't watch that. There was a stream. Hold on. I'm literally gonna check. Was it on Rumble? Probably on Rumble. Surely. Surely everybody's banned from YouTube by now. Do I still have that somewhere in... let me check. Is there a link? No, there's no link. I'm so... Is it on YouTube? Live. Yes, Rumble. Okay. And 2 more links. Rumble. The yesterday one. Is it? I don't see Don on this one. Okay, just if you have it, just pop me a link. I'm down, but I might feel the same way after it. But you know what? The only way out of this is through. So like I have to figure out a solution that works for me, and there's just no other way about it. I can't just sit down and like, oh well, this makes me feel bad, so I'm not gonna confront it. It's like, no, I have to somehow like figure out a solution that gets me through this thing and towards something productive. I really try new skills, so practicing is not a thing that I do in my day-to-day life. You really should start. What can I say to that? It's gotta be that answer. It's just, it's important to be able to practice. It's like, because basically anything in life you're gonna want to do is going to require you to do some kind of consistent thing that is like practice. It's like you're going to have to put in a bunch of time and do a bunch of things that you perhaps don't even find pleasant to get better at something at the end of it. Last time I tried it was editing the video. That's good, you know. If it helps to ease you into it, to get something that you enjoy doing and just pour a bunch of time and then stick through it when it becomes boring is kind of the way to do it. It's like when it becomes boring, you stick to it and you finish the project. And then, you know, that's one thing you've done, kind of despite yourself. That's a victory you can mark, and then you can, you know, next time you have doubts, you're like, you can be like, oh yeah, I've done this last time and I've gotten through it, so I'll get through it again. And then, you know, you build confidence, you build your resolve, your will out, and it helps you in all sorts of stuff in life. this arm is absolutely busted. I need to redo it entirely from scratch. The hand isn't, the arm is. Longed? Thanks. Last time I tried it was editing the video, not for a long time. I didn't. And now uni started. Yeah. Uni is, well, to be honest, just being used to practice is what has gotten me through uni, because that has sure as hell not included any goddamn ways to motivate yourself to do anything. So thankfully, you know, because I've done a bunch of things beforehand, I was able to not, you know, just do the absolute minimum. I was able to actually like persist through it. It's like that I could start goddamn ranting about this, because I think that's something that should be a part of the, you know, of an institution of learning that's been absolutely missing. It's like, why are you not dedicated to improving the people's capacity to learn and the ability to just, you know, study and to think, all of that stuff? It's like, I would think this institution, I used to think the institution is exactly for that, and then at every turn it's just proving over and over again that it has nothing to do with any of that. It's like, we are not interested in anyone learning at all. We are not interested in just... this place is a paper making machine. You produce papers for us to confirm that you've been studying here. We produce a paper for you that proves you've been studying here, and you use that paper to hand it off to whoever the hell wants to hire you so you can get hired. And nobody actually cares about any kind of learning, any kind of education, like any kind of, you know, expanding beyond your horizon. No, that's just absolutely not like that. It's all the same anywhere in the world. It's almost like our civilization is kind of collapsing. A little bit, kind of. A tiny amount. It's a lot like that, unfortunately. But it's like, yeah, I've heard it from other people as well. Like from other people in my country, in other countries. It's like, seems like just an absolute universal. Uni, absolute garbage. Academics probably shouldn't care about them too much. Just, you know, as a general rule. Which, I mean, why would you really trust a bunch of, you know, dudes who just what they have credentials? Like, what do the credentials mean? It's like, they don't mean anything anymore besides it being a credential. But I think it's gonna catch up, and it's gonna catch up fast, because as long as there's business to be done, like, you want people in a business. When you run a business, you really want people who can do things. And you know, you want to look for people that want to do things, and if you want to look for those people, you want to... And, you know, you've been using the university diploma as a proxy for this person knows what they are doing, then at some point the actual reputation of the diploma is gonna catch up with what the quality of the people having the diploma actually is. And I think that's pretty much happening now, in many ways. Well, at least I think in programming, at the very least in like software development, you get a lot more of just like, what have you actually done though? Which makes sense. We've worked with people like fresh out of uni and like finishing uni, and they were basically useless. Like, I was teaching those guys before at first year of uni, or I was teaching those guys how to do certain things in coding, because they were just incapable, because they weren't taught properly, which, well, They were probably not taught properly because they were taught by people who didn't understand it themselves because they never worked. So if they never worked, they don't understand how all this stuff they are talking about actually applies in reality. And if they don't know that, then they can't teach properly. But they are the only ones left to teach because everyone that could do the job has gone to something better paid. And you can't make this job better paid because it's publicly funded. And it's just a mess, you know. Can do things. No, the people that can do things are the people that have the piece of paper that says they are capable of doing it, and the paper means not so much. It's like, well, the paper still applies. There's definitely certain things that still require you to have a paper. I'm fairly certain certain higher positions in companies over here, you can't get into them if you don't have a higher education of some sort. Like, you have to have a diploma. It's just there's some requirements in there that just basically make you do it. And also it gives you as well the what's it called? It gives you over here at least. It gives you like 3 letters in front of your name. We call it. So you get a little title when you finish uni. Yeah, you get a little title you can add to your surname and to your name, and that also makes that looks way better on contracts. So essentially, if you hand an offer to a client and you are disclosing like who's on the team and you know who's prepared this, it looks way better if you can add those 3 letters in front of your name as opposed to, you know, this just this dude did it. You know, until you have a reputation that, you know, precedes you in a way that just your name is a brand in and of itself, you kind of lean on the prestige of the title to assure the people you are handing the offer to that, oh yeah, this guy probably knows what he's talking about. He's got the title. It's a proxy once again, and it's probably also going to catch up to everything else over time. Because how long can you really pretend that people who are incompetent are competent? Probably not too long. I'd prefer my dog to have a paper. Yeah, I mean, I think the medical sciences, I don't know how hard that's caught up, but if it has, if it's gonna catch up, then I'm gonna, you know, it's probably a good moment to start eating healthy before we find out just how bad, just how like inaccurate medical diplomas are. Probably don't wanna go to the doctor a lot when that catches up. Also, oh, hello, Mr. Tacticalistic. Welcome to stream. Degrees. If I finish my studies, I'll have the dog title in French. Yeah, it's something like that. You probably have more than those, right? You just like for me, because I finished my studies, I do have the title of engineer now, so I can, you know, I can make all the engineer jokes, engineer from TF2 jokes I want. Degrees used to be a proxy for IQ, and now they aren't. You know what? Perhaps it's gotta be how you filter people. Essentially, it's like degrees used to be a filter, and now they are not. Because like I was pretty shocked at just how hard it is to get dropped from uni. Like, you have to actively try. You have to actively try to get dropped out of uni. You would have to purposefully basically go out of your way to get yourself kicked out. Where I'm pretty sure before it didn't used to be like this. I'm pretty sure it used to be like you could fail and you could get expelled for just not performing. It doesn't seem to be quite the case anymore. Which is of course going to mean that, well, if all of us have the same piece of paper at the end of it, then like, how is the guy looking at this going to distinguish between, you know, the competent of us and the absolute morons? Here it's more about how many years you spend studying. Oh, the other titles you mean. It's kind of like that here as well. You just gotta get, you do different theses. Theses? I don't know how to pronounce it, but the point is you do different works to earn the titles. But yeah, it's like more, the higher the title, the more you had to study, essentially, the more time you had to spend at the uni. I don't know if there's really any ways to fast track it. There's probably are. You could probably do it, but then like through the process of being at the uni is how you get contacts and how you get to actually do stuff, so probably is a lot is dependent on that. Turns out barriers to entry matter. Who knew? Tune in for more news at 11, you know, where we'll discover such shocking ideas as smart people are more useful in a company than dumb people. As breaking news. Not that there's no jobs for dumb people, but it just so happens that, you know, being capable of doing things is generally useful in business. It's shocking, but the thing is, there's plenty of people who don't seem to understand this. It's a change of mindset, surely. It's a change of mindset, because when you actually have a business where you are working for a business where you are not, you know, you're not waging, you are not getting a wage, you are instead earning money through your own work, essentially. So like it depends on how much on your output determines how much money you have, is essentially the configuration. So if you work like that, it, you know, the perspective becomes very different, because it's your time is valuable in a very different way to when you are just, you know, getting a wage. It's like there's a very high incentive for you to actually do work instead of slack off, as long as nobody notices. Because, well, it's like who are you cheating out of something when you, this makes no sense now. Who are you cheating out of something when you are doing this? Like, well, you congratulations, the only one you've cheated is yourself. In that case, well, because like, where are you now going to get all this time you've wasted from? Like, you're not getting that back. That's not happening. So it's like you better ensure the next time you attempt this, you are better at allocating your time and using it, because time is very much money in a scenario like this. I think homeschooling is also a little bit like this. I wonder if my chat broke. Could have. Homeschooling, I think, is also kind of like this. It's, you take responsibility for your own education, so it's kind of, it is all about responsibility, isn't it? It kind of looks like a water gun. That's good. It's supposed to, because this is I'm drawing a bit of a crossover between Splatoon and CS:GO. So if it looks like a water gun, that's better. And it used to look like a guitar, supposedly. So, you know, we are getting there. We are getting better at it. It's getting better. Whatever. The point is, new thing good, old thing bad. Please subscribe. There's presumably problems with this. I've once again absolutely nailed the this is all not in one plane anymore problem. I'm gonna have to do a third iteration on this, I'm fairly certain, but I am hoping the third iteration on it is gonna be Yeah, I'm hoping the third iteration on this is going to be pretty definitive. I think this has already gotten better. This arm is kind of, I think, too tightly... Hell, actually, no, maybe it makes sense, because... CEST. Bye. I'm thinking this arm should be slightly tucked in, because he's holding the gun, like the gun stock... Good night. The gun stock closer to his body with it, so it kind of should be like this. But the other arm is, I think, where the problem comes in, and that just doesn't look right at all. Yes, it should be tucked in. Yeah, that's what I figured. I kind of did it accidentally, but it kind of works. I mean, he is hip firing clearly, but still, like, even with, I think if you hip fire, you do it like this. I don't know. I've shot guns. I've not hip fired them, so I don't know. I don't know how you hip fire a weapon, how you hold it. I would assume you kind of... Actually, if I position myself in the similar position, the other elbow is also kind of next to the body, which actually might be because I'm not picturing the length of the gun properly. That could also be a factor that the the elbow gets a bit further out from the body as you... the longer the gun is, the further the elbow is going to be from the body. No one actually uses hip fire. Well, okay, but you know, this is CSGO inspired, so surely surely you gotta understand that in CS, everybody hip fires, aside from AWP users, I suppose, and SG users, and AUG users, and Scout users. If you want to see hip fire from a proper perspective, look at walking fire. Okay, walking fire stance. Let's see if this turns any results. No, this is just people walking through fire. That's not exactly... Also, they broke the JavaScript in my preferred search engine. Rifle. Actually, maybe I'll just type in... Get a lot more. No, this guy's aiming down the sides. I'm gonna look up hip fire. God damn it! They broke the JavaScript, and it just makes it impossible to edit the search phrase. It's just bad. Hip fire stance. Let me look that up. Hip fire guy. That looks like... No, that's a video game. I'm not... Oh, this guy's a lot more relaxed about it. The gun is not pointed... One of the things that's not correct in my drawing at the moment is the gun is pointed in that direction, and it should be more pointed in this direction. That's part of it. That's gotta change. Walking fire YouTube. Sure. YouTube.com. Walking fire. Let's... Rillan and the Bombardiers walking on fire official video. 1918 bar live and walking fire demonstration. UKF drum and bass Dirty Phonics walk in the fire. How does call walking work? Yeah. Walking fire gun. How about that? M240 walking fire. No, this is from far away. Automatic rifle. How's this guy doing it? That's not very... no. Browning bar. Could I obtain a single video of this? Maybe hipfire gun. No, hipfire is entirely flooded with game shorts. Actually, there's like one guy who's doing it, but he's like actually aiming, which is a problem. Look at this nerd aiming. What the hell does that? Okay, let me see for a reference. This. Okay, is this? What is the action? Show me the walking. Where is the walking? That is standing. Where is the walk? This walking? That is full auto. Is this walking? Okay, I see. He's got his other arm way more straight than the way I drew it, and he's got the weapon way lower as well. So what I'd basically have to do, what I'd basically have to do is I'd have to select the gun, and I think well, that's not correct. Select the gun and the hands. And probably make them both lower. It's more like this, and then actually no. If I deselect the shoulders from this, it should be better. Because the shoulders are kinda correct, and I just need to drop the arms lower. And rotate it, maybe. It's like more like this. Yeah, more like this, and then the gun needs to be kind of shortened. I can't do it with this transformation, really. I'd have to have, I think, perspective to do it. Because it's more like this. It's more like this. This gets smaller. It's not perfect by any means, but you can kind of see the idea of it. And then the other arm is way more outstretched, so it's basically like I can't rotate at the same time as doing this. Yeah, it just breaks. So it's something. It's like rotated like this, and then please rotate it like this, drop it down, then try perspective on the same thing, and then use perspective to. Yes, the problem with perspective shifting like this is it's drawn wrong. But it's something more like this, I think, for the stance. I have to also take into the account that if he's jumping, yeah, this is. I think it's mostly about the gun not being. I think it's mostly about the angle of the gun not being correct. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna iterate on it once again, which is gonna be the last iteration for tonight because the clock has struck midnight. But you know what? I'm down for one more. So the angle of the gun should be towards here. Right, so the plane it is in is something, looks a little something like this. It's slightly tilted, you know, to illustrate it maybe better with a box. This doesn't illustrate it any better, but it's something like this, is the point. That is where the gun should be located. So then, you know, we have like the mag and the handle somewhere around here. And then the very properly drawn stock. This is not proportionate at all, but I'm just trying to capture the gist of it. It's something like this. It's something like this for the gun, but it needs to be facing more towards the camera. So it's probably in how I do these two mostly is how that's gonna manifest. It's not really towards the camera, is it? And then he's got like this arm is basically has the elbow somewhere around here, and it goes, you know, to hold the gun there. And then the other arm is like this. He's actually in the video his arm is more like this and there, and he's not really tucking it in all that much. And I think this is maybe better to what I had. It's a bit of a mess of lines, but I'm just putting the idea down, and I'll try and iron it out in like the part 2 of this iteration, because I said the last iteration I don't want to make it a whole separate one. So the legs are mostly good, I think. Maybe this one could originate a bit lower, or maybe I could even actually also, while making it originate a bit lower, I could make it go higher to layer this a bit. You know, layer these a bit more. And if I layer these a bit more, they look a bit more perhaps interesting and give a better sense of depth to it. Not sure if that's gonna be real, but I think this is mostly good on it. And then I think the final change is the head should be a lot lower like this. I could be looking up, but the head has to be kind of hunched. It has to be kind of hunched over, I think, in this state for this to look good. I think. Although I'm not sure about it. It's like this, maybe. And then the face is more towards the left. Left and down. Something like this. And now if I drop the opacity of that, drop the opacity of this, I can, on top of that, hopefully kind of achieve a version of it that's ready to be ready for redoing the, well, basically the entire thing I've done before. Stuff really is just an iterative process. It's like one of the most important things I think to learn is just to learn to let go of things. So no, the first draft you maybe it looks nice, like it looks neat, but you really don't want to conserve it. Just, you know, go ahead, throw it out, draw over it 5 times. Maybe at the end of the day you return to something resembling the original, but it doesn't really matter because first of all you've learned a lot since then, and second of all, you know, there's probably details you would have never noticed about the original that you have now noticed because of the iterative process, and the overall result is better. So in short, draw things, question mark. Okay, let's erase these. Something like this. I just realized I have my headphones on for no reason after listening to that previous thing. This hand and arm combo is just not right in the slightest, and I think that's because of the angle of the fingers. So the fingers have to go a bit like this because the arm goes like that, or otherwise I'd have to move the hand. It's like mostly a straight line from the shoulder to the end of the arm, and then the fingers are kind of a continuation of that. But these do not work for what I'm going for with the gun. So that's a problem. I might actually erase, yeah, I think I'm doing that. I'm erasing that and trying again with this. Let's get rid of the leg for now. That leg's in the way. Yeah, something like this. Maybe, not sure. No, it has to be I realize I'm not providing the most insightful of commentaries, but I'm really trying to figure this out before I go to bed. This is how learning occurs. You just, you just power through it until it's done. And at the end of the day, you're ready to do it that tiny little bit faster the next time, and then the tiny little bit faster the third time, and then maybe a couple years down the line you become proficient at it. Maybe. Perhaps. Like, it is not impossible for you to become better at it. Right, let's see. No, this I've made it all the way back from having this hand figured out to having it wrong again. And the reason is, once again, the angle. Like, it all matters. It's you can't really omit any element of the pose, because if you like mess up an element of the pose, it messes up all the other elements as well. And I think I see what I'm doing wrong here, is the angle of the fingers should be more like this. And this is actually huge in terms of how it looks. Because it makes the hand like look different, look at it like a different angle than it actually is or should be. So I'm figuring something like this out. Okay, this is better with a very careful tone of voice. Yeah, then this finger is kind of the angle I want to go for on the rifle. Is I've made it too steep, but the idea is to make it steeper than the rest of it, and then the fingers along the kind of main line. As the barrel, I suppose, would be the most accurate way to describe that. Like, we move all of this kind of up, and then we lead the next line parallel to that finger, presumably, and that looks something like somewhat decent, with the other hand being very lazily drawn still. But surely you gotta have the part after the elbow go up a little bit. That feels right. I don't know if it is right. Boop, boop, boop. This is bad. I had the revelation about the angle correct, but everything else about it is pretty bad. Something like this. I think I should probably let this go for tonight and go to bed, because I'm not making it better, I'm making it worse. So this is probably about the limit of, I've probably reached the limit of how much I can do, and I'm about to start falling asleep live on stream. Just probably a bad idea. I am not a woman, so I can't earn money by sleeping. Okay, this looks, I think this angle looks good. Call it, I'm thinking this looks better, aside from this hand, which doesn't look better. It's like that, and we I think this is pretty good, all things considered. Just gotta put the arm on top of the stock, not below it. so it doesn't look very weird. Okay, I think I'm broad strokes. I think are getting there, pretty much. And then, you know, the legs very quickly drawn out. And then the question is, do I do the other leg through the thing? I'm thinking what I could do is something like this, and then the leg's too long. But if I shorten it, then it probably looks good. Okay, I'm thinking this pose. I'm thinking this pose has improved. It was a long journey for, could be considered little effect, but I'm thinking that doesn't really matter because the pose is better. Maybe one more thing. It's like this finger should more like that. Good job, thanks. I am slowly over time, hopefully learning how to draw. It's been a long process, but you know what? I'm going somewhere with it, maybe. Perhaps. Don't know. Gotta figure out a cooler haircut than I've been doing, probably also. Could also like some headwear, maybe. Something. I'll figure it out next time, but you know what? This pose is way more solid than what I used to have. Let's compare them. That's not the layer. Where is it? There it is. There it is. Okay, so you see, you kind of see, you know, like the original has got more detail, surely, but the proportions are kind of whack, and the anatomy isn't properly defined, and the pose isn't accurate to someone actually holding a weapon. Really, the head is facing in a confusing direction, and I think most of these have been rectified with this this new pose. So I suppose, you know, you could call it a step back, but I think it's a step ahead, a step in the right direction. I'll see what the hell I'll do with it at some point in the future. So anyway, it's been nice to ramble for a bunch. I'll hopefully over time figure out what the 3 question marks actually mean, and yeah, thanks for sticking around. Almost said good night. It's presumably not good night over there, but you know what, bye.